sheet on our family name. We really want to explore whether he was as bad as what people make out in the crime books, and did he murder 8 people? Did he kill a toddler, 3-year-old toddler in cold blood in 1974 before he died? Regan died. We want to find the truth. I said, that sounds fantastic. I'll be fascinated by that. And she said, and then we've got the tapes. I went, what tapes? She said, well, John Regan in the late 60s and early 70s was obsessed with technology, so he rigged up his phone and recorded dozens of hours of conversations he had. This is this arch criminal with corrupt police, fellow gangsters, and we found them in a suitcase. If you'd be interested in them, and I'm going, oh my God, the gangster's voice from 50 years ago, and we have his voice for the podcast, which is, I'm still wondering.
Have you ever had to change a bit of plot or a character because of an ethical consideration?
I genuinely haven't. There's things that I write in my books that I don't realise will have as big an impact as they do. And I think every writer, every creator, everywhere, people will come up and the bit that they tell, or the bit that I get referred to the most as this is my favourite part of the book, was not the bit that I think that it was supposed to be.
In 1 kilometre, turn right on McLaren Road, then enter the roundabout.
I worked really hard on this. Did you enjoy this bit? And they're like, no, not really. So they always surprise you, and I think some stuff happens in my books. They lighten their fun, but people have got to die, and people have got to react to that, and crimes have got to be solved, and bad guys have got to be justice done. And I put things in the books for plot reasons. People that just serve my puzzle brain and solve the puzzle, and then my editor will read it and say, man, I cried on this page. This was really brutal. And I'd be like, is it? And you just start to think, is it me after a while? But I've never had to change some event considerations, but I do sometimes think, have I pushed this a little bit far, or is this not telling the story the way I want to tell it, or is this not treating the reader the way I want to treat it sometimes?
It's the fictional town, that you end up having to write about, because my series Crimson Lake, which was turned into a TV show,
Turn right at the traffic light, then enter the roundabout.
Town, an hour south of Cairns, and it's only got 2 cops in it, so it had to be a fictional town, because there's plenty of those tiny towns there in the wetlands, and they've only got 2 cops, and I didn't want anyone to go, well, this is obviously this guy and that guy. So I write a lot about
At the roundabout, take the 4th exit to McLaren Road.
things like that, moments like that, where I've had to shelter people that I haven't been inspired by, and I haven't been there, but they might identify themselves, or people might identify them, and it might cause drama for people I don't even know.
We've only got a couple of minutes, so I want to quickly whip along the whole panel very quickly. Will good ultimately always win out, or is that just a kind of myth we hold on to?
Turn left on Boat Desert Nerang Road.
Religious, and we think it will happen in the next life, or is it just a myth we hold on to for our own well-being?
Yes.
Yeah.
The world is a terrible place, but it also is a beautiful place, and that interplay of the 2 elements is what it's all about,
In 3.5 kilometres, turn right on Midgenot Road.
And are we animals, or are we sophisticated human beings? And that's the messiness is what makes it amazing and wonderful. And if good won out, it'd be boring. So, yeah.
Ok, partea a doua, Green Mountains. Să vedem ce poate să țină camera.
Supportive of your family, it's regards to his upbringing on the Isle of Dogs in East London, Hack Baker is a singer and songwriter. He has a lot of stories to tell. Some are dark, some are playful and disarming, some are cautionary tales. But they're always told with honesty and with Hack's friends, family and community at the centre of his music.
Family, just quite close, small, close-knit, just being happy.
How important is your mum and dad's story, and how much does it intertwine with your own? There are very strong stories with those who are connected with the Caribbean and with the Windrush generation in particular.
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of like directly in the middle, in between them, and their struggles they've always shared with me and highlighted with me to let me know who I am. And the stories that they shared with me, I think I've like translated into I've becoming who I am, and I'm just very proud of how far we've come as a family. You know, they both was immigrants just after the Windrush generation, and they taught me everything I know, and it's turned me into the person that I am now.
Hack, you ended up spending a bit of time in prison for robbery when you were a younger man. To be that young bloke sitting in a prison cell, could you ever have imagined what's about to happen now? That is, getting ready to travel to Australia to sing your songs and tell your stories to people right on the other side of the world.
In a weird way, I can, because my mother especially always told me she crashed while I was in her stomach while she was in Jamaica on a pedal bike, and she was fearful that I was going to pass away, but I never. And from there she always told me that I was here for a reason, and I always used to walk with that as an advantage, and I always kind of used it as an invincibility cloak, because I thought, I'm here for a reason, so I can do this, I can do that. But life shortly reminds you that that's not the case, but I still have an air of confidence that she's given me because I'm her son, and I believe what she says, and I just do actually feel like I'm here for a reason. My job is to bring people together, so this is just part of it. Coming to Australia and sing performing those gigs as part of that mission. She told me that's what I'm here to do.
It sounds like your mum's been hugely important for you, Hack. Even now, as a grown man, what do you think's more important for you? For your mum to be proud of you, or for you to be proud of yourself?
Well, that's a great question. But it has to be me to be proud of myself. But my mum being proud of me is just it's a lovely bonus. But I feel like I have to be proud of myself and know my own worth and know what I'm capable to do. But having my mum on my side, also with her finally telling me that she's proud and happy, is also a massive bonus.
When you were in prison, something quite remarkable happened, and that is that someone was coming in to do guitar lessons in prison, and there was a raffle that you could put your name in and see if you were lucky enough to get a spot to be able to learn and play guitar in prison. You were lucky enough to be one of those. How much do you think that moment has changed your life, Hack?
Oh, it definitely changed my life exponentially. I feel like I voiced a personal interest in playing guitar to myself and my close friends, and once I set my mind to do something, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to get it done. But I think that just really gave me the leapfrog that I needed to get it done, get it started. I'm not too sure if I believe in fate or all those things, but it's just something that was supposed to happen, and I took it with both hands. So I took myself really as well, because I wasn't scared to. I'm never scared to try anything new. So that's again another part of the whole journey.
Like, I wanted to ask you about your relationship, not only with music, but also your relationship with language. Your lyrics, they're poetic in many cases. They're kind of breaking the rules of sentences, as poetry often does, but sometimes it's so much clearer when you don't have a a sentence constructed in a formal way. There's some cut through with that. How do you see the way that language works for you?
Well, language is a tool of man, so language works for us. It doesn't work the other way around. You know, we use it how we see fit. There's rules. Rules are definitely there to be broken. I just know that I have a love for language. I found that very early. My mum would tell me that any word that I don't know, that I must look up in the dictionary and don't ask her. Then after that, I must find a thesaurus and find like words. So from then, I found that started my infatuation with words and the English language, and then an offset from that was my secondary school Miss Starker teacher called Miss Starkey was my English teacher for as long as I survived in secondary school, and she was just the most she spoke with such wicked prose and expression and stanza and taught me about poetry, and I fell in love with it then. I don't want to be like anybody, I don't want to sound like anybody, so everything I do has to be personalised, and that also includes the way how I use words and prose. So it's just there to be played with and manipulated.
Okay,
I love it.
There's some of the songs are very hard and strong. I'm thinking about a track called PC Plod, and then I look at the lyrics for your beautiful song Love Me.
So love me, so I let you see your love for me. Till then, love me, and I receive the love you have for me.
That's a really, really vulnerable collection of words there.
Yes, I've always been vulnerable. We've always been vulnerable. We love the street where we're from. We grew up on the street. Unfortunately, /fortunately, I left my mum's house at a very young age. And young boys grew up different then. We wasn't sheltered, we wasn't staying doors on our phone. We went out. And me and my friends, we trauma bonded. We met, we looked each other in the eyes and felt the similarity in of our pains. And we bonded immediately. And we lived from really very early. And there's pros and cons of that. And I guess the pros is like we are synonymous with activities of outside. We have no fear of being outside. And we take our communication skills that we had to forge anywhere around the world and feel comfortable. However, I feel we also grew up too swiftly, and now as you get as adulthood is like upon us, it's like, oh, we feel like we've been adults for years. What happens? And then it's even harder than ever. So it feels like we kind of never had a break, or kind of never really got to enjoy ourselves, because kind of instantly we had to fend and pay for ourselves. And by fend, it's like protecting one another, or having money to buy food, or not getting it by any means. And it's like, because the world is in such a way at the moment, and money is such hard to come by at the moment, it's like we never got a break, but we don't dare feel sorry for ourselves. I think laughter is something that we became accustomed to as a tool of impressing any pain, and we just laugh in the face of any pain and animosity and get on with the job. And that's what we learned. That's what being vulnerable will teach you, to never feel sorry for yourself. You know, speak those pains out loud is fine. The more honest you are, the more free you are.
The Isle of Dogs in East London, there's been a huge amount of building and development there. Heck, I was having a look at the maps yesterday at how much it had changed and how densely populated it is. How much has that changed, and what's it like for people in that area when they're having these shiny glass buildings come into their neighbourhood?
Yeah, because those shiny glass buildings ain't for us, unfortunately. They've told us that, and they've let us know that from ages of 40s, and we was told from young that the police used to come up to us and say, we're going to get rid of you, but we're very resilient, and we let them know if we really want to treat us like rodents, then we act like rodents. You can't get rid of rodents, you know, so here we are. And we'll never leave. They're lucky anyway, because they need us, because without us you just get all these posh, boring people where it's all about finance. And then who's going to want to come to London to hang about with posh, boring people?
Heck, you're clearly a bloke who's always learning right since a boy. What do you hope to learn in Australia? What are you hoping for?
Oh, I just want to broaden my horizons and see how people are over there. I think there's definitely a similarity between us, because, you know, obviously the history of the country, and I think that's why the music spreads over there. But I've just got my ears and eyes open and want to learn about the natives, their situations over there, the people, and how Australians people feel. As I said, there's obviously a similarity between us, and the music obviously connects. And I knew that from quite early because we can see who's and where it's been listened to. And Australia's always been quite up there, like near at the top, like top 3, 4. So there's a flattery there, and I want to express that fact and flattery and dive in and figure out why that is and where those similarities are and talk about that. I can query that. I can't wait.
Like, it's been such a pleasure to be able to talk to you about your music, and we look forward to seeing you in Australia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sally, and I just want to thank the Australian people for sticking with me and showing me that my music can cross the ocean, across the world, and it's just, as I said, a flattery aspect for myself, and I feel immensely lucky to be able to come over and share that with people.
That's British singer and songwriter Hack Baker. They're a really interesting fellow to talk to. He said that he's often been underestimated in his life, but very interesting lyricist, well worth seeing. Hack Baker will be performing at the Sydney Festival next month. Well, that's almost it from this morning and for the week. Thank you to all the Radio National Summer Breakfast team. It's Harvey O'Sullivan. We're making sure that the tech's working properly. Oscar Coleman in the studio and our executive producer, Eleni Soltis. You can listen back to any of our interviews on the Radio National Breakfast website or on the ABC Listen app. I'll be back in a few weeks after a quick break. Kathy Van Exter will be with you next week. It is news time. It is 9 o'clock.
Turn left on Bow Desert Nerang Road.
Young offenders. About $80 million will be spent on 6 crime prevention and youth justice schools across the state, but the programs won't be up and running until 2026. QCOS CEO Amy McVie says the government needs to urgently fund other measures it committed to.
The government has also promised Queenslanders gold standard early intervention, more diversion options.
The LNP pledged to deliver 9 regional reset camps and 12-month rehabilitation plans for young people released from youth detention.
Turn left on Bow Desert Nerang Road.
Gerber says her department's working on the tenders for reset camps and post-release plans, as well as rolling out funding as soon as possible for the early intervention schemes. Palestinian health authorities say 5 journalists have been killed in an Israeli
And 1.5 kilometres. Turn left on Kidston Street.
The 5 men's employer, Al Quds Television Today, say they died doing their journalistic and humanitarian duty when they were killed while inside a TV broadcast van in a Nuseirat refugee camp in the early hours of the morning. Funerals were held for the men in Gaza as the Israel Defense Forces disputed that they were journalists. The IDF says they were targeted because Gaza since the start of the war between Israel and Hamas. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Authorities in Finland have accused the Kremlin of sabotage after a Russian cargo ship reportedly severed a cable that provides power to Estonia.
Finnish authorities ordered and took control of a cargo ship called the Eagle S, which had been travelling from Russia on suspicion it would cause the outage of an undersea power cable. 3 internet lines connecting Finland and Estonia.
In 700 meters, turn left on Kidston Street.
It's flagged to be carried by foreign vessels, and Finnish police believe this one was working on Denmark and Russia. Officers raided the dam of the cable to Estonia stopped working on Wednesday, the latest of a series of malfunctions in undersea cables in the Baltic region. They say they suspect sabotage, and it's now been confirmed that another undersea cable between Finland and Germany also stopped working on Wednesday, with the owner saying it had been cut.
Briefly in sport in the BBL, the Brisbane Heat suffered their first loss of the tournament, going down to the Perth Scorchers by 33 runs, set 166 for victory.
Turn left on Kidston Street.
Could only muster 132. The other match, the Sydney Sixers had an 8-wicket win over the Melbourne Stars. Isolated showers or storms today for the Gulf country, Western Cape York, the North Tropical Coast and the interior, fine or mostly fine elsewhere. Severe heatwave conditions for parts of the northern and central interior and developing in central and southeastern districts. Brisbane, fine today with a top of 33 degrees, reaching 36 at Ipswich. Partly cloudy in the southeast on Saturday, a shower or two for Sunday and Monday.
In 400 meters, turn left on Coburg Road.
News.
ABC Radio National.
Hello from the lands of the Kulin Nation. This is Life Matters. I'm Beverly Wang. And it's a bit of a philosophical question this time.
Turn left on Coburg Road.
What does life mean to you? How do you find a sense of purpose and meaning in everyday life? Let's talk. Am I living a good life? What does that even mean? Has that question ever crossed your mind, and when? Sometimes we grapple with that when times are tough, but we may also muse about having a so-called purpose in life, even when things are running smoothly. So what do you think?
Ok, și am ajuns de unde am plecat.
To help us delve into this topic, welcome to Simon Kennedy, ethical counselor at the Ethics Centre in Sydney. Hi, Simon.
G'day, Beverly.
Now, Simon, normally we hear from you in the Ask Auntie Advice segment. You're one of our OG aunties, but this time you have brought a different topic to our attention, and it's great.
Ok, dimineața într-un resteria, ce vreau să arăt este îndepărtare. Sunt niște canguri, nu știu dacă se văd. Dacă pot să filmez cretinii. Sunt niște animale cât se poate de tâmpite. Aici sunt. Ăștia sunt cangurii. Sunt o grămadă de canguri morți pe șosele. Sunt tâmpiți, sunt prăstănați. Pur și simplu stau în fața mașinii, țopăie în fața mașinii. Ok, acum mă îndrept spre Sydney. Ok, Ku-ring-gai Chase National Park, în apropiere de Sydney. Ok, very difficult to reach this place. I don't know what is inside. Acum s-a încorăcit ce nu trebuie. Centura. Și era să fie. Ok. Ok. N-am plătit nimic, nu a fost nimeni la intrare, habar n-am ce se întâmplă. E o țară de țicniți. Am mai fost și în Royal National Park. La fel. Zice că trebuie să plătești, dar nu e nimeni să-ți ia bani, așa că am intrat fără să plătesc. M-am învârtit, n-am mai avut unde să pun camera, prea multe serpentine și mi-ar fi zburat. Și aici mi-e frică, să vedem cum va fi. Nu știu dacă sunt serpentine sau nu. Nu va fi prea mult de filmat, vreo 20 de minute cât mai ține caseta. Să văd ce mai e și pe aici. Dacă e mai mult și, mă rog, mai apar alte persoane care să ceară bani sau ceva, atunci o să pun o altă casetă, dacă va fi ceva interesant. Dacă nu e nimic interesant, las așa și să-i gata. Și după aia, mâine și poimine încerc să filmez în Sydney. Foarte ciudat nume. Ku-ring-gai Chase National Park. O zonă de parcare, dar nu ajută la nimic. Că oricum nu intru în pădure să mă plimb. Probabil că e făcut special cu trailuri pentru ca oamenii să se poată plimba. Eu trebuie să filmez din mașină, că pe mine piciorul nu mă ține foarte mult la... N-am ce să... Și așa mă doare acum un dinte. Da, și asta e cu serpentine. O să vedem unde ieșim. Trebuie să merg încet să nu zboare camera. Își dau cu 60 de km pe oră aici. Sunt nebun, pe autostradă pun 80-100, iar într-un parc și pe serpentinele astea pun 60 să intru de 40.